Welcome to the Popcorn Talk Network, for the online broadcast network that features movie discussion, news, and interviews. Press 1.
Popcorn Talk. We talk movies.
Hello, and welcome to a very special watch-along episode of Jedi Alliance. We are going to watch The Phantom Menace before your very eyes. My name is Joseph Scrimshaw. This is my co-host on Jedi Alliance.
I'm the Internet's soapbox Mark Donica. Welcome. This has been a long time coming. We've been planning this for a little while. To be perfectly honest, I have not seen The Phantom Menace as a cognizant adult. My my most recent memory of the films was the Red Letter Media reviews, so I'm actually really excited to see it back, and it's, I guess we're seeing the second edition of it, so,
this
it's
is
quote unquote purest form.
The DVD version, so it's still Puppet Yoda.
Yes.
We are very aware that there is no such thing as a mild opinion about Phantom Menace. People only have very strong opinions, so I will
Check
say
our comment section.
mine right away is that I think that there are some problems with the movie. I think there are good parts. I think there are bad parts. But overall, I just really enjoy watching it. It's Star Wars. There are lightsabers. So as we go along, I'll say some things that I like, some things that I don't like,
As will I.
And we'll talk about it.
I mean, I'm in a similar way for another movie. I love Batman Forever, which is a bad movie. It's a bad Batman movie, but I absolutely love it. So I know if I have that mindset for something, I'll be able to appreciate something like this. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Awesome. So if you guys have thoughts or comments or things that you'd like us to address, you can feel free to tweet at our handle, at Jedi_Alliance on Twitter. We'll also be watching the live stream on YouTube.
Will.
So if you have thoughts, please share them.
Please.
And anything else? Or should we get
believe
started?
we're ready to get started.
So I am going to count from 3 down to 1, and then I'm going to press play, and we are all going to enjoy The Phantom Menace.
We're pressing play after 3. So
Yeah,
3,
so
2,
on
1,
Go.
Press play on your respective players.
And then we're going to
then we're
enjoy.
gonna enjoy.
We are going to enjoy Phantom Menace. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Still paused. Let's try that again. Okay.
Here we go.
See, here when we were syncing this all up, I realized something that I'm gonna miss is the 20th Century Fox intro.
Absolutely.
We're gonna get the Disney one to be sure, but I think the 20th Century Fox theme is so important and integral to kind of that setup for the initial score.
Yes. When I first saw this film in the theater, it was generally of a generation of people who had grown up with Star Wars either in the theaters or on VHS tapes growing up, and everybody lost their mind at the sound. And I think just that sound started the air of, we expect this movie to be just like what we experienced before. I think one of the things about it is George Lucas had really, really different ideas.
Yeah.
It's meant to be a different movie from the classics.
I think it could have helped to. I know it's all the same saga and story, but do you think it could have been helped to have a slightly different opening? Because so far it is all the same. It's the same 20th century. It's the same Lucasfilm. It's the same everything. It's the same scroll.
I think the dime drop for people that it's going to be different with the first sentence, pretty much. Turmoil has engulfed the Galactic Republic. The taxation of trade routes to outline star systems is in dispute. A lot of people make fun of that right away. The first paragraph of it's Star Wars lightsabers taxation dispute.
Yeah.
Because in the classic trilogy, we're kind of aware of like political, financial things in the background, maybe, but the focus is on action and adventure. And to tell the story that Lucas wanted to and broaden the universe, we get into politics.
You got to tell that. You got to figure out where all these people came from.
Yeah, so I think right away for the older generation is like, wait, taxes? I'm alarmed.
Me sitting here as a kid watching this film, I remember I was in the front of the theater and I was just like, oh, it's a spaceship. Like I wasn't aware of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of sitting and waiting for something awesome to happen. And that's a really young pilot.
Yes. And I think, another criticism that people have of Phantom Menace is that some of the aliens have voices that are can be troublesome. Like that sounds like
had to bring that up, didn't you?
I do, because it's right there. I think that George Lucas is going off of like he's so inspired by like old serials and things like that. And in the villains of old serials, they would sometimes have ethnic accents. So he just did that again, and then like, oh, well, now it plays a little bit differently.
To say the least.
But we'll move on to the more fun stuff. The
Yeah.
Jedi right away.
Silver Protocol droids. Well, I mean, how do you know that
TC-14.
they're just wearing robes? You don't know that they're Jedi. Everybody wears robes in the Star Wars universe just because they're brown?
Well, no, they have the air of Jedi.
Of course.
The calm walking. And
Oh, but okay, they're wearing uniforms.
and I've got a bad feeling about this right off the bat. I think that is certainly the earliest use in any of the films.
Just in terms of runtime?
Yeah,
Definitely.
to get it out there right away.
Just be like, hey, look, it's Star Wars, remember?
And right away we have the different ideas about there are different kinds of Force, and you get the sense that Qui-Gon is a very deep philosophical fellow.
Yeah, different types of teachings. That's so interesting to go from be mindful of the living Force to let's take his blood and see how much Force he's got in him. So, though.
Yeah?
Sorry, I got the puppetry. It was very distracting.
Yeah,
But-
I mean, a common comment about Phantom Menace is that it has so much more CGI, and Lucas said, I waited years until the CGI could do it, but there's a lot of traditional filmmaking. There's the puppetry of the Neimoidians, and Yoda's a puppet. And
Yeah, but just it reminded me so much of Rigel from Farscape. It was bizarre. Sorry, it was the eyebrows that got me.
No.
But
They even hold their glasses and drink peacefully. I love seeing like Jedi in their prime, just being very peaceful about everything.
yeah, and as I mentioned before, I'll try to bring it up as little as possible. But I think it's a good counter argument. Is the Red Letter Media review talked about how they sense something dangerous, but they just drink tea that's willingly given to them. But you'd figure they'd have to be aware of something like that. Qui-Gon can sense the gas instantly, and he.
It was just my favorite
Yeah.
line of "I will make it legal." But yes, I think Qui-Gon is being mindful of the tea.
Mhm.
He's slipping it slowly. He's sniffing it.
Yep.
I
Quick.
choose to believe that Jedi can sort of power sniff. They
It's
have
like they can power run.
force sniffing ability.
Oh.
I believe that pilot is played by Silas Carson, who also plays Ki-Adi-Mundi and one of the Neimoidians.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool. Multiple credits.
Yes, and that was a thrilling moment for me because outside of somebody having a fight, you'd never really seen two lightsabers.
Yeah, and let alone on the same side, both
yeah.
a blue and a green at the same time.
Yeah, and over the years with my up and down relationship with this film and the criticism, the thing that made me keep going back to it and thinking about it more is just scenes like this. It's Jedi lightsabers.
Jediing.
They're going to cut things apart. There are so many of them. It's so cool. And I
Yeah.
want to dance, with my lightsaber like this Star Wars kid.
Yeah, and this is before we knew kind of the futility of battle droids, but similarly with Superman, how Superman is so powerful, you never really see him tear through anybody, but they throw a bunch of robots at him just to show, yeah, this is how quickly and easily he can handle stuff.
Yeah.
And it shows the strength of the Jedi, which is and just Jediing.
Yeah, and just the amount of things. See, that's so cool. The behind the back, and then Ewan McGregor looks so happy.
And the practical uses too. The practical uses of a lightsaber other than just combat. but
Right.
for
This is
breaching.
something we see all the time. I wouldn't be surprised if we see it in Force Awakens. The sort of the lightsaber cutting through something in the sort of orange glow.
Mhm.
In the idea of all of the different things that a lightsaber could do. I think it's really cool that even people who are down on the prequels, there's so much of what we accept just now as that's a part of Star Wars
Yeah.
that starts in Phantom Menace.
And I think the droidicas were a cool addition too.
So when you were a kid and you were seeing this for the first time, Mark, were you just like, Jedi, awesome, lightsabers, awesome?
Essentially, I mean, I couldn't understand what the Neimoidians were saying.
But you got that they were generally mean, right?
Yeah. They were trying to stop the Jedi. even with that was what voice was that? But I just as a kid, it starts very actiony off the front, even
Right.
despite hey, let's have some tea and talk about trade. It turns right to action right away.
Yeah. There was no actual discussion.
And I had no idea what any of that meant.
There's one of my other favorite lines is coming up. I'll probably say that a lot. The negotiations. I really liked how impish Obi-Wan Kenobi is, and kind of a little bit, they're supposed to be all zen, but he's also a little bit of a smartass.
Yeah, no, that was one of the things that really humanize these films. I mean, and we talk about it on Jedi Alliance all the time. Was Ewan McGregor's performance as Obi-Wan? Is he's really the only one who's kind of actively commenting about what's going on?
Right. He's having
he's
value
our window.
judgments.
He's our window into this universe.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good point. And it's a cool flip from going from him of the sort of wise old mentor to the audience viewpoint.
Mm-hmm. The plucky hero, even though who are we supposed to be following in this? Is Anakin the main character, or are Anakin and Obi-Wan the main characters?
Well, I think this is a philosophical thing. I think it's what I think it's
chicken and egg.
I think it's what the Red Letter Media critique comes down to. Is Red Letter Media critiques it in a very classic film structure way, and it doesn't follow a classic film structure.
No.
It follows the structure that George Lucas, weird human being, just wants to do and thinks is right. And that's one of the main things that's made me appreciate the prequels more of like, these is just the work of a guy who's just like, no, I have money and power, and I think this is the way it should go.
Yeah.
I think structurally it doesn't have a main character. I think the viewpoint, it changes. And
this is kind of like a history book, where it's not necessarily depending on which history book you read, I guess, but you get everything from, so while this was happening, this is what happened on the planet, and little did the planet know what was happening up in space.
Yes.
So it's just kind of a record with a couple of characters leading the way.
Yeah.
You would never think to be like, just George. Just trust in George. It is the will of the George
but then,
that the movies have.
There's the ring theory. There's a extensive article that's a really interesting read if you want to really take some quality time, that talks about the structure of the movie being very, very purposeful, and not to be necessarily super traditional movie structure, but to have this very specific shape and rhythm with the whole trilogy. Another thing that I like just visually, when I first saw it, I had some of these like, this doesn't look like Star Wars. But I also really like that the Empire hasn't driven the galaxy to be junky, so things don't have as much of the used look because things are still like newer and nicer. And the universe is still functioning.
The Trade Federation, they're kind of upstarts at this point. They're not like while they do have supply, how much power do they really have over the galaxy?
Right. I mean, they're pushing for more control, but they have money, so their stuff is nice.
Yeah.
And the Republic is in good shape, so all of the buildings on Coruscant look nice.
And yeah, the Empire has like a half and half in terms of, well, let's take what worked for the Republic and kind of update it as we go along. And same thing with the Rebellion is, well, here are these fighters that not a lot of people have used, and we'll try to update. It's a lot of, I think, because it looks so shiny is what I'm trying to say. Because it looks so shiny is what made people go, this isn't Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's putting yourself in that world.
Yeah.
You're talking to a guy who defended the Super Mario Brothers movie on a video game movie anatomy.
Okay.
So I'm open-minded.
Excellent. All right, so Jar Jar has come on the scene. Jar Jar is probably the single most controversial figure in the Star Wars galaxy. How did you feel when you first saw him, Mark?
Couldn't really understand what he was saying. But his cadence suggested that something of a cartoon character.
Yeah. Okay. So for balance, I will say things that I don't like. He just said "excuse me."
Yeah.
And to me, when I first saw this film, that was a joke from Wayne's World that Mike Myers had popularized.
Me.
So I had that moment of shock of like, I'm watching Star Wars. no Wayne's World jokes.
Yeah.
And I think that is one ongoing thing that I will always be upset about in Phantom Menace is those moments where the real world intrudes
Yeah, it
too
pulls out
much
a little
into
bit.
the Star Wars world.
I think that
so excuse me is always going to be a problem for me.
just in general, Jar Jar's cadence and way of speech is a little bit too. What's the word I'm trying to look for?
Cartoony?
Well, definitely cartoony, but it's a little bit too. He uses too much of our common vernacular, so not just "excuse me."
Yeah.
Very slangy.
Yeah, it's this mix of interesting, like strange English, but weird word choices or structures that make it alien, and then jokes from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. I'm waiting for a Canteen Boy reference. Now that we're in there,
I have come to like Okie Day, ironically, like when something really
for
horrible has been reported to me of like,
pig
well,
Latin?
I'm sorry, you've been fired.
Okie Day.
Okie Day. Okie Day. I will just accept that.
Are you all right? You blink and heavily look like you're having a bit of a
Okie Day.
Okie Day.
Okie Day. Design-wise, I think there's so much cool stuff that expanded the Star Wars palette.
Dude,
Oda Gunga here, yeah.
is awesome. And even and you know it had to come at some point in Star Tours, getting a chance to ride through that and ride through the world. There are a couple of things that it changed in terms of just watching the films. First of all, how are Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon totally dry, except for that one little bit on Qui-Gon's front.
The shield they went through is also drier.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, that's my head.
It's gotta be terrible for amphibious life.
Yeah, they're a little wet. I would have taken a wetter Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan Kenobi. I would have been down with that.
I would have taken a robe off before swimming, but they gotta keep the aesthetic.
Yeah, he's got a little moisture there on his face, old Obi-Wan. Doo-doo.
Doo-doo?
Yep. Also a classic.
Hey, kids.
How rude. Nice callback to C-3PO says how rude in Empire Strikes Back. The Achuta. And then, of course, Boss Nass here is Brian Blessed, who many people will know for being the loudest man in Britain. I like the gravity that Boss Nass brings. Not necessarily like this is a deep philosophical, but just like the deeper voice and the like a little bit more alien, a little bit more like you would believe that he could actually be a problem.
Yeah, it's the way that they opened up the scene with he's got a council around him, he's got a little bit more weight to him, so he's supposed to remind us the people with power tend to be a little bit bigger, just due to opulence. So yeah, he. What?
I really like that.
So he's presented as
sized. Yeah.
Yes, he's presented as a royal figure, and while people do sort of criticize the whole way the Naboo speak, his is one of the only cadences that seems really alien and foreign.
Yeah, and I mean it's great. Yeah, the planet core is
and
like
the clicks and the
yeah. I also like this whole beginning. It's it's very George Lucas comes from serials. They have to be an adventure after adventure.
Yep.
Things happen, and I also like that Qui-Gon is so like I trust the Force, even if it makes me wander around a bit.
he says no matter what, the will of the Force will put me in the right place.
I think in this scene. Already, Obi-Wan has talked about the symbiotic relationship between the Gungans
and the Naboo are in a symbiote circle.
And I think that is a really strong theme in this movie, the theme of people depending on one another and duality. We get introduced the idea that Jedi have Padawan. We get introduced the idea that with Sith, there's always a master and an apprentice. We get this idea that Naboo functions on this relationship between the Gungans and the Naboo, and there's a lot of that duality in symbiotic theme, which I think is interesting. partially because I have a liberal arts degree. I spent $30,000 on it, and I like talking about themes.
Well, I'm talking about. I'll be here talking about performance. You're talking to a theater arts major, and that's another thing that made me want to watch this movie again, is to really see what kind of a director George was.
Yeah, and I think there are interesting shots that sort of communicate perspective. I think in terms of like behind the camera, how do we tell the story? Is great, and I think Lucas himself at this point has said like, yeah, maybe dialogue's not my strong suit, and yeah, talking to actors is kind of a pain.
That was when we go, that's a part of your job, man.
Yeah.
I can understand being an editor's director to a point, but that's where a good assistant director can come in.
Yeah.
But
now there's a shot in here in this scene that will come up that it took me a while to see, where Qui-Gon appears to give what is a Vulcan nerve pinch to Jar Jar and just shut him down.
Let's see.
Yeah, it'll happen in a little bit here, but I don't know why. It's very sharp and subtle and fast, and it took me a little while to notice. That's a great line too. That's one of the great catchy lines of the movie.
That's one of the better lines, I would say, in all three of these.
In all prequels, yeah, and I definitely think about that one because that's certainly true. In Hollywood, there is always a bigger fish. Okay, so when you were a kid,
bring it on.
Did you?
I like this frame.
Understand that Darth Sidious and Palpatine and Senator Palpatine, who we meet later in the movie, were of course the same person? Or did it seem like a mystery to you?
To be honest, I probably not. I don't like I remember all of the Jedi stuff.
Okay.
From being a kid, I remember all of the Jedi stuff, and anytime a lightsaber came out, which I believe was the idea of the production.
Yeah.
But I don't remember thinking they were the same person.
Okay.
I remember thinking that he looked a lot like the Emperor.
Okay.
Just because of the hood. I was like, is that supposed to be the Emperor? Is that the Emperor? But
yeah.
Nothing. Not that he and Sheev were the same.
Yeah. Okay. I think Jar Jar's going to start complaining, and then the pinch will come.
And what a jerk for Qui-Gon. It's like, just stop.
See, okay, he's complaining. When you be thinking we's in trouble. And another problem.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm waiting for this pinch. It's coming up. Wait for it.
You gotta escape the electric eel first.
Yeah, the space water eel. Yep. So there's the you overdid it.
You overdid it. Okay,
and
so that was an
makes
implication
a
that
noise like he's either getting knocked out or the most sensual back rub ever.
You know what? Knowing Qui-Gon's pretty smooth, so I'm still up in the air about that.
About sensual back rub?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Here, you want one too?
Yeah. So he's still coming out of it. Yeah, and it's weird to me that we didn't sort of culturally pick up on that, since many of us were annoyed by Jar Jar. That should have been a triumph moment of like,
hey, shut him down. Thank goodness.
But it took me many viewings, and then I even had to rewind. I was like, did I see that right?
Meanwhile, in Star Wars Battlefront, there was a couple of things where, like, a couple of places where
I love that shot.
It's very good. It's very stately. What are the orbs on her dress?
Well,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I love the Naboo sense of style of like, the more the better.
Yeah.
There's not enough stuff on this dress.
Super ornate. Ready? All right.
A fast victory for the Neimoidians, so we know that's not the central conflict. We should know by the title that the central conflict is difficult for the Jedi to discover because it's a Phantom Menace.
Yes. I like the space gondolas in the back. One thing that was always weird for me, or one thing that's weird now, again, Star Tours, they do it for the sake of the ride, but the journey through the planet score is about 30 seconds.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's a very small planet.
You go from Oto Gunga, you almost hit Jar Jar, and then you run right into the space, right into the sea monsters.
Okay.
And then you come up in a Naboo, the flight hangar. You come up in the flight hangar.
Don't give you an opportunity to pinch the person in front of you and knock them
I mean,
out.
you could, and that would be funny if you do that to a kid who's freaking out. You just pinch them quick, and they're like, but you might be taken away.
Yeah. A couple of people who ended up quite well known are among Padme's handmaidens, Keira Knightley.
Keira Knightley.
And she's in a couple of really prominent shots. Once you know who Keira Knightley is and are looking for it, you can see Keira Knightley.
Yeah.
And I believe Sofia Coppola is also one of the
Is
handmaidens.
she?
Yeah.
I didn't know that one. Where are the rest of the citizens too? Or do they not? Or are they just caring about the politicians?
Yeah, I think they just grabbed the politicians. I think this is in the capital, so I think all the other people are hiding. More great Jedi action.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, I think now with a lot more action movies out there, that the way he puts his lightsaber away,
Just super quick.
yeah, this all was so cool, and just the sort of the flare question with Obi-Wan throughout this movie of like, was that spin functional?
Yeah.
Or was that just flare?
Just because it was the last one.
Yeah, but I think it's easy to forget, since the whole Clone Wars animated series and a lot of action movies, it's really, really just cool to see all of this lightsaber stuff.
I really like that dude's goatee. I don't know. I don't remember his name.
C.O. Bibble?
Are you kidding me?
No, that's his name.
Bibble?
C.O. Bibble.
Bibble to me.
I don't kid about C.O. Bibble.
No Bibble kidding.
So now we're getting to a little bit of that hint of like it's a Phantom Menace where Qui-Gon is saying, "What's the deal? What's really going on?"
Yeah.
And so we can see that that is Keira Knightley.
But that was a cool way to communicate to Padme, yo, what do you want to do?
Yeah, and if once you watch it with knowledge that Padme is pretending to not be the queen, it obviously all of her being much more opinionated is powerful. Yeah, Obi-Wan's
just
deal
chilling.
with that. Yep. Yeah, and it's also nice to see that like Obi-Wan isn't violent or angry like Anakin, but he's eager like Ahsoka is. Like, I want to show that I can do this.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. And and he really likes that split kick.
He likes
that's
the
the
split
second
kick.
time in a minute he's done it.
Yeah, he's all about that split kick. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Why are you firing on engines in fighter craft? That's a terrible idea.
And some more twirling. Twirl for twirl's sake, Obi-Wan. Twirl for twirl's sake.
This is the coolest rave I've ever been to. I like the legs, just like, where's my body? Walking through.
But I mean, and I think also for like, how do we show Jedi just using their lightsabers like crazy? What did they use them for when they weren't regularly fighting Sith? Like, I'm glad that we didn't see them just like absolutely cutting apart like aliens.
Seriously.
Like,
yeah. Better to be robots.
See them robots. Yeah, just cut them to bits. Rick Oley, the pilot here, is known by many people as Captain Exposition because he does indeed state exactly what's going on in helpful ways.
I did that in a movie once where all of my lines were exposition. I
Like
asked all the right questions.
In a student film?
Yeah. But it was, I was Mr. Exposition. I know the feeling. He reminds me a bit of Miles O'Brien to cross the streams a bit.
Oh, yeah, in Deep Space Nine?
Yeah.
Nice.
And Next Gen.
I like the line "we're losing droids fast." It was a shocking introduction to R2-D2 of like, we expect them all to go.
He's the only one left. But then here was kind of where here was the first time where the audience's knowledge of the original films came in to be like, oh, hey, R2. Awesome. That's where he came from.
Yeah, we saw Obi-Wan, but he's a very different Obi-Wan, and then we've had like little lines like, I have a bad feeling about this, or a reference to Yoda. But yeah, this is the first like
visual where people go, oh, hey, look.
It's R2. Yeah, and this was a fun arm pumping moment for me when I first heard it. Of like, broadening out the way the rest of the universe thinks about different things. Like I knew that the Hutts were a criminal.
But I can just imagine you in the theater just going, "Yeah, the Hutts, yeah, dude."
It was a subtle arm. And I like that he is seated at the table. It's a very polite
hologram. As opposed to like in the center, like it's a conference call.
Yeah, I like all of the expanding universe. We talked about this on the Jedi Alliance about Lost Stars, all of the different ways that one can use this holo technology.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah. And now you as a wrestling fan, doesn't that look like a wrestling promo when he's sort of like
seriously,
this is my new wrestler.
Yeah, Darth seriously, Maul. This is my new heel. He's going to take out the champion. That's totally what it is. And the face paint makes you scared instantly.
Yes. He's so evil. He's not even going to cut promos.
No, and that's the thing is if you have a good enough promo guy, that makes your unspoken dude even scarier.
Yeah, a well put together little droid, R2D2. And we never knew that astromech droids had a little number plates.
Yeah, I suppose so. It's like, hello, my name is.
It's his first day of school.
Yeah. He just rips off a name sticker.
Mm-hmm. Watching it again, you understand the duality theme with the Queen and with Padme. But watching it the first time, I think that is another thing that is George Lucas being a weird human being, where you're like, audiences are looking for like, well, who is the main character? What's the main thread? And then we further split it up. We've met the Queen. We're pretty sure like, oh, the Queen is going to be, that's Luke and Leia's mom. But now we're spending time with this other person.
Yeah.
So I think that's another thing that becomes more enjoyable once you actually watch it with the whole Star Wars story in mind, where you aren't distracted by those sort of first-time confusions.
Yeah. So now we can look past it now.
Yeah.
But I mean, that first time is important. Like that's why with Force Awakens, I know the first time is just going to be me trying to just watch the movie.
Yes.
And then another time will be to try to catch everything.
Yes. I will be burying my feelings
in popcorn and bottomless ices.
Yeah. I mean, and just let the movie wash over me and let it be whatever it is, instead of coming in with preconceived notions of what it should be.
Probably one of the most raucous crowds you'll ever hear in a movie theater.
Yeah. And I do like the design of all the sleek Nubian ships.
Yeah, that was another thing. Is like, oh, that ship's so cool.
Yes, it will.
Cool.
Yeah, I've started to develop a phobia when I watch movies of how difficult certain scenes are going to be in the video game versions. And the video game version that told the story of Phantom Menace for the PlayStation 1, you had to do so much work to get that hyperspace.
Really?
Yeah, the hyperdrive. You made like 8 different deals as Qui-Gon. It's like, all right, you can have this, but I want a piece of pie or whatever.
That's the thing, is they have to pad it out.
Yeah.
That's why I'm kind of happy with the Disney Infinity. They didn't do episodes 1 through 3 because that's such a terrible story in terms of like making kids play through that. That's such an awful story to make kids sit through because of all of the death. But they instead make it a page out of the Clone Wars cartoon.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So Cad Bane is the bad guy. Cad Bane and Darth Maul are the bad guys.
Nice.
So it's like, oh, all right. But the episode 1 video game that I played the most wasn't the standard one. It was the pod racing game.
Okay.
Which is one of the few like really solid concepts that some would argue took away from the story, but did he have to step and poo? Did he really?
Yeah, that is another moment that I will never try to defend. There's no need for Jar Jar to step and poo.
And do you like how it sort of mirrors the special edition? Anyway,
I like that it is clearly a more elegant version of it. That's clearly what Lucas wanted to do, is make it seem like a bustling sort of spaceport, and instead of that strange, flat stuff coming in front of them in the special edition, I like seeing it the way he wanted it to be, a little bit more inhabited. And I do think the actual design of Watto and his general attitude. I understand people criticize his voice too, but I like Watto.
I think if he had a little bit different of a voice, it wouldn't be the most recognizable thing about him.
Yeah.
I do like the species. It's different.
Yeah, the Toydarians.
Yeah.
And I like that they introduced that very, very different shape of alien, since most aliens in the classic trilogy are sort of humanoid shaped. And hello, Anakin, are you an angel? See, in my opinion and enjoyment of the prequels hinges on Anakin is not good at flirting. So the fact that his very first words,
His very first English words.
are you an angel? So I like Anakin's story in contrast to Luke's, that he's already has plenty of legit stuff to be angry about. Like Luke's sort of like, my life is boring and
I live on a farm.
and I only have an aunt and uncle, not my real parents. I really want some excitement. And Anakin's like, no, I'm a slave.
Yeah.
I was sold.
I'm a slave twice.
Yeah, I'm a double slave. Yeah, so having that, starting right away with he is a good-hearted person, but he's already had it pretty rough in life, is a nice contrast with Luke's hopefulness.
Agreed.
Yeah, so there's more getting the picture of how the universe works. See, Toydarian should be savvy, but without the brown robes, he does not recognize him as a Jedi. Like,
not attempting. I mean, just because you're trying a mind trick.
Yeah.
And he just acknowledged that he is not force sensitive. Like, hey man, you're not some kind of Jedi, are you? Because that kind of stuff won't work on me.
Yeah, Jedi don't wear tan slankets.
So
there's no way you could be a Jedi. But I do like, starting right away with his story, the beginnings of the sort of moral ambiguities of Qui-Gon, of like, well, I need this thing, so I think it's okay. I'm on a mission. It's to protect her. There's a problem. There's something going on. I can use the Force powers.
Because we're trying to anything to next to anything to save the galaxy.
Yeah. Yippee is not a favorite line.
No, that seemed like a very easily it says yippee, but just do a happy exclamation. Just no, I'm good with yippee.
No,
yeah,
yippee works.
Oh, okay.
It'd be fun to dub in the no that everybody dislikes there too. You can go home. No.
If I would do it, I would cut back to Anakin just staring back for like a couple seconds, and then yippee.
Yippee. Yeah, like a cold, ironic yippee.
Yeah.
That would have been fun.
Yippee.
A friend of mine got me. I collected many Phantom Menace toys back in the 90s, early 2000s, and a friend was like trying to push me. Was like, "What can I get you that you actually don't want?" And it was a Pez dispenser scene based on this scene where there's like a Jar Jar figure, and you press somewhere, and his tongue lashed out. Oh, I don't know, at least like 6 inches on the actual figure to grab Pez in some way. And I really liked from the get-go the design of Sebulba here, of the Dugs, of a truly alien race with like the weird walking on the hands and strange aggressive feet.
I forgot that Sebulba talked. That's how long it's been.
Yeah. And
but I do agree with the design of Sebulba.
And there isn't, people have pointed out in the prequel trilogy, there isn't quite as much speaking in other languages, but we do see some of that from Watto and Anakin and Sebulba there.
So is that the language of Tatooine, or because they're two different species?
I think it's all hiatus. I could be wrong, but that's my understanding without looking it up, is that, and that's what I thought when I watched it, of like,
that sounds about right.
That's what people speak on the Hutts control Tatooine. People speak hiatus.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But could be wrong.
Pulls up the box, Banaka, it sprays into his mouth.
Yeah, and I like seeing that he is a part of the community. This is expanded on quite a bit in the novelization, which I read.
Yeah.
Back in the day, of his little community here, even though he's kind of like a slave and nobody's really happy with their lot in life, that people know each other and
they've got to find the positives, really.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Tatooine slums.
Yeah.
Might find a lost sea scroll in one of these houses.
The efficiency apartments of Tatooine. Frankly, it's actually pretty spacious.
Yeah.
Like, many struggling actors in LA would kill for this apartment.
I mean, that with that kind of natural rock work,
yeah,
looks like low-cost housing anyway. It's fantastic. Did that send any sort of a... Sorry, hard to not notice the highlight scoops.
Yeah.
Did the 3PO send anything to you when he said, "Come on, let me show you 3PO"?
You mean when I first saw it?
Yeah.
Yeah. When I first saw it, I was a little afraid of everything being overly connected.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand, the film is already sort of sprawling, very different structure.
Yeah.
So I understand where he's going from, and it also builds to showing Anakin's general humanity.
Mm-hmm.
The meeting of Titans is cool. 3PO and R2 meeting.
Do you think it was love at first sight?
Well, R2 said, the first thing that R2 says is, "You're naked."
You're naked.
So I don't know if that's love so much as like let me help you out with some of your social faux pas, dude. The mechanic thing, like the whole thing that Anakin is a master mechanic, that he would be at the level to build
his own protocol droid.
A protocol droid, was a new bit of information about Anakin, Darth Vader, and I think that all of the expanded fiction has really built on that. Like in Lords of the Sith, the new canon book, there's some great stuff about his connection to, like, am I still good with mechanical things, and is that a sign that there's a part of me that's still Anakin? So I think a lot of that, his being a good pilot and good with mechanics, ended up going a lot of
Do you
different
think
places.
it's a disservice to the film that in order to get that full picture of Anakin, you have to go externally? Like, you can't just watch the movie and think?
Oh, yeah. At last we will have revenge. That line is beautiful and cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I certainly enjoy the prequels more because of some of the expanded fiction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I think that is an indication that there are some flaws with the movies. But I guess the point is, I enjoy watching them, and part of it is I enjoy being a ridiculously big Star Wars geek and filling in those things.
Yeah.
And actually, even before I read some of the books, I spent time filling in, like, well, if that didn't work for me exactly, how would it work? And then some of the things that I sort of thought, like, oh, that'd be cool if it was this thing that was a little wonky in the film made sense because of this, and then over time that has become canon what it is.
I can understand that. I can see that. Because definitely now, even with 2 and 3, that informs episode 1 a little bit more.
Yeah.
By seeing the type of person, seeing who he becomes, not necessarily just Darth Vader, but just as a more adult, quote unquote, more adult Anakin Skywalker, you can see where all of that sort of starts, and that makes you go, oh, you shouldn't have said that. Oh, you shouldn't have done that. You poor child.
Yeah, and in this whole scene, we get into the whole sort of like he's a slave. He's got it rough in life, but his heart is pure.
Yeah.
And I think this is what Lucas really stuck to his guns on, of like, I want him to be younger so that purity of character is really, really clear.
Yeah. And how old is too old to start training in the Jedi Order?
I think
isn't it like 3 or 4?
Yeah, I think there's supposed to be identified, very, very young and not have any sort of other attachments. And we don't get into the attachment rules in Phantom Menace. That really gets introduced in Attack of the Clones. But again, that's sort of like you bring that information to this when you rewatch it.
Star Wars Episode 2, The Naboo Vacation.
One of the classic discussions of Jedi Alliance we're getting into now. The possibility that there was some consensual adult fun between Qui-Gon and Shmi.
That's something that you're implying, and something they just went on a nice vacation. That's all I'm saying. It's nice to get away sometimes.
Well, as we go on, they have these meaningful glances between adults, mature adults who realize the truth of the galaxy. There's some rough parts to it.
Your eyes. Get some.
See, right away. Right away, he's being
I'm right,
the good stepdad.
I like him already.
I don't mean to stepdad you, Anakin, but your mom's right.
Now you should go on to bed early.
So yeah, pure, nice little kid. I think Qui-Gon is okay with gambling. So people talk a lot also about getting spoiled on Phantom Menace. That sort of hinge in the plot is one of the things that became really clear by reading the backs of the action figures back in the day.
Yeah?
That
How so?
Well, we know we can tell that they start out in Naboo. They clearly meet the Queen Padme, whoever that is. They clearly get stuck on Tatooine, and there's this pod race, so they have to get off somehow. So the idea of like, oh, that must be how Anakin proves himself at a pod race. So at this point in the movie, when I was watching it the very first time, I was like, crap, I figured out the movie from the action figures. And did some of those
in a positive way?
I felt really ambivalent about it because I felt like I'd only read bits and pieces and had just been like, what if? And then it was really like, oh, but no, I did because, now he's going to do the pod race and he has to win so they get off the planet. And then they're going to go back to Coruscant and then eventually they're going to fight with Darth Maul in a place that, has no guardrails.
Realistic. Liar. Interesting. And do you think did that change with episode 2?
Yeah, I think that they weren't as explicit about that stuff. I think the action figures didn't have as much detail. And I mean, they got yelled at so much for just the blatant spoiler on the soundtrack of Qui-Gon dying, which I did not know going in. And I
didn't know that was a thing. That. Like I got the soundtrack a couple years after, but that was before like ID tagging, where you would just kind of put it in and listen to the music, and before tracks titles really became super important.
Yeah.
So I was just like listening. It was just like, oh, I did that.
I was literally physically grabbed by another geek in a good way, like grabbed me by the shoulders, like, dude, don't look at the soundtrack. I like the do-bags hanging out. Don't know if they're a problem or not. And I never really thought of Obi-Wan as the audience perspective, but I think that's an astute call on your part of like Obi-Wan is the one questioning this of like, really?
Yeah. He's. Oh.
Another subtitle for the film.
And his mother.
Yeah, see?
Oh, the day after.
Look at the smile.
Like the night scene where they were all around the dinner table, they actually cut it early. there was an extra shot of Padme looking at both of them and saying, "Hey, do you guys need anything at the store? I could take Anakin with me." Actually, now that you mention it,
but they
and
just
then
have okay,
they
like
cut again.
right here, they just do have like charisma and understanding. Like they're on the same page.
They're both come across as very responsible adults, and it's really interesting to see Qui-Gon understand Anakin so quickly.
Yeah. And obviously, if you just watch the film, that's just floating out there until you get to Revenge of the Sith.
So Jesus then.
Yes, and it's weird since Qui-Gon looks like Jesus, and then this was actually spoiled for me by my manager at Kinko's. The book came out earlier, and my manager at Kinko's, I was an assistant manager at Kinko's at the time. My manager at Kinko's, just like we were making copies, he looked up, he's like, "Hey, Anakin's just like he's an immaculate conception." And I thought he was messing with me. Honestly, it's like,
and then
okay,
it got
great.
to it in the movie.
Great, yeah. I think it is interesting. It's obviously been expanded a lot. I will get back to this point in a minute, but I love this scene that we have a Rodian and then there's just a girl with braces.
Yep.
I love the combo.
Braces on Tatooine?
Yeah, it's normal. But I think it had been such a point of the classic trilogy of like everyone is afraid of the possible children of Anakin because the Force runs strong in families. And that's even now like continuing into The Force Awakens. So I can see Lucas's desire to say like, this isn't about this ancient family. The story starts with this kid.
Yeah.
Period. And then obviously it becomes much more complicated and interesting in Revenge of the Sith when there's the even slightest implication that there are Sith or other Jedi who know how to create life.
So,
exactly. And
so
then,
romantic.
Yeah, and if you're just watching the movies, nothing else, you can imagine like, oh, did Plagueis or Palpatine Sidious actually create Anakin? And it's been played around with in the books that are now not canon, and maybe we'll come back to it. Legends book. Yeah, maybe we'll come back to it in the new canon.
That's possible. So we are streaming this live on the Popcorn Talk website, or on the Popcorn Talk YouTube page, and Quentin Tracy in the chat asks, "Did you enjoy the sleek aesthetic of the vehicle designs in Episode 1?"
Absolutely. Yeah, especially when they come from all the ones from Naboo.
Yeah.
Again, it shows us this sort of different style of spaceship. It's not the rugged, beat-up Millennium Falcon.
Nope.
It's we're a small planet, but we do okay financially, and the aesthetic is sleek and nice.
You know what? We're doing fine. Let's go for that extra polish.
Yes, I think we've described the Naboo Cruiser as maybe a midlife crisis vehicle. It's smooth and nice. It's got a good ride. Yeah, and feel free to grab if there are other questions in there
as well. Though the Corvette, the Padme ship,
yes,
is also just you can look at that ship and go, oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's just cool.
That's a royal ship. Yeah, and it brings in some other influences, and I think especially like with the Clone Wars, I'm rewatching it with my wife right now, the animated series. I like how much Star Wars is so much its own weird thing. I like that it can bring in other aesthetics. And there's something kind of a little bit more 1950s classic sci-fi about just that shiny, sleek ships.
Yeah.
That I like. And the controversial midichlorians appear. I think we just passed the line where Anakin is talking about wanting to see all the stars ever.
Yeah, he was.
And the first time and every time I watch it, my mind fills in and kill everyone there.
I want to go to those stars.
There was Shmi's like meaningful look, and she's looking at Qui-Gon because she's overhearing that. But
what about hearing that the TIE Fighter-esque scream?
Oh, I love the Sith Infiltrator.
Yeah.
I thought it was such a cool looking ship. I love the sound of it. And yeah, like I don't think there's anybody who dislikes Darth Maul. I think some of the only complaints about Darth Maul is not enough.
Yeah, the only complaint is that he died too soon.
Died too soon or too easy, but like amazing design that again expanded the look of Star Wars to have him look so. He looks like a Star Wars alien, like you would have seen in the canteen, but way scarier, way more satanic.
And we still haven't seen him.
Not
all we have
fully.
is his face to work off of.
Yeah, and then this ties back to the probe droids.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it becomes a little bit more clear in Episode 2 and Episode 3 how much the Empire grows out of the Republic. But when you're just seeing Phantom Menace for the first time, it's natural to associate, well, Sith technology is going to be similar to Imperial technology because they are the bad guys.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see those basically baby probe droids. So I think coming up here is one of the diciest things.
Yes, the changing of the bet.
Yep. Where Qui-Gon has now discovered that not only is Anakin Force sensitive, he's super powerful in the Force. He wants to get the parts he needs, but now his focus has changed of like, I got to get that kid out of here.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you like the pod race when you
Oh,
first
of
saw it?
course.
Was it exciting? And
It was one of those things that super brought me into the franchise a little bit more than other stuff, because here's a kid a little bit younger than me at that point who's essentially space racing,
okay,
and the fact that they were chariots was lost on me, but all of the designs of the different I was really into racing games when I was younger, like Cruising USA, stuff like that. So it was the movie that got me interested in the game, and then the game got me reinterested in the pod race. So
nice.
it was a symbiote circle. And the arcade version was cool because you actually had the shifters in front of you, and you can control each engine independently. So yeah, I got that. I used to know all of the other pilots' names.
I know some of them, but that was from playing the PlayStation 1 game.
Mm-hmm. Sebulba was the last character you got to unlock because you could use the exhaust against the other racers too.
Oh,
so
nice.
You got the advantage. It would affect how you would fly for a little bit, but if you had somebody right behind you, take them all out. But yeah, I really like the pod race, and as we mentioned on the show recently, it expanded so wizard.
So wizard, Annie.
It expanded the idea of what people do, despite all of the problems that are happening. You're controlled by the Hutts. It can arguably be a fixed race from this past scene that we got with Watto and Qui-Gon, but it was still just like, people, and a coliseum of people have come out to see the Boonta Eve Classic.
Yeah.
With Greg Proops as the announcer.
Yes.
Blew my mind when I figured that out.
Okay, and I in a continuing effort to find balance in the Phantom Menace, one of the things I greatly dislike and will never be okay with is the announcers.
Oh, I agree.
I like Greg Proops, nothing against him, but
not the style that I think works for Star Wars.
The bringing it into the real world, and in particular taking jokes from the real world of like, ooh, that's gotta hurt. That's coming up it does hurt me. It hurts me every time.
So I like the idea. Like, sure, have an announcer, and sure, have the one that speaks the Huttese, but a little bit too showy.
Yeah.
And if it's supposed to, especially with Jabba showing up and watching,
right,
it should be all in Huttese.
Yeah. And I was happy to see what I thought of at the time as a Reese.
Yeah.
That was the name of that, and a squid face. And then whoever this guy is. I don't remember his name.
Don't remember him from the games. They just said it, but.
Doug Bolt, okay, that's this guy's name. And there's definitely a lot of change in the kind of style of alien that you see. A lot of different body shapes in the pod race.
Yeah. Why I oughta.
Pit droids seem like a logical extension of the mouse droids.
Mouse droids, yeah. With I didn't put the noises
dopey,
together.
Yeah.
But
Okay, I think that I might have missed what my favorite is Team Toe. Team Toe is introduced in the PlayStation 1 video game that I won't shut up about. That's unfortunate as well.
did we need that? No, we did not.
No,
That
I would be
10
fine with
seconds.
Perhaps that is the Phantom Menace. The fart. But
The Phantom Menace
so
silent, but
Team
deadly.
Toe is, for complicated reasons, Qui-Gon's trying to get him to race in the game, and he doesn't want to because he's drunk. And it's a great little side story in the PlayStation 1 game.
What a jerk.
Come on, Team Toe.
Yeah.
Not cool.
We do have some folks in the chat.
Awesome.
The pod race scene is ridiculously long. When my girlfriend first watched it, she fell asleep during it. When she woke up, it was still going on, and she turned it off. That's from Lee and Christopher in chat. Just for clarification, do you mean from when they get into the pit all the way to the very end, or the actual race itself? Because I think similarly to, in some cases, the fight in Episode 3, you could have an action scene going on so long that it could start to get a little like, okay, they're still
I get
still
the point.
going.
Yeah.
But-
I love seeing Jabba.
Yeah.
I love seeing the young Bib Fortuna and somebody else in Leia's bikini
Yeah.
and another hut in the background. I mean, I think a lot of people have strong opinions about the pod race. I think it is interesting to have something that is so much in the Star Wars spirit that had been established up to this point in 1999,
Yeah.
but also very different
Mhm.
To keep expanding the universe. I think a lot of people at the time kvetched because they felt like it was too much like a video game because it was
That's
all
solid word.
CGI.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoy it. I think it is well shot and a lot of fun. But I also understand people who are like, if you are in the middle point of this movie and want to know what happens next, it's a lot of action where the character stakes are, is Anakin going to win and prove that he is the chosen one? And I think we all feel like probably yeah, because we need that for the story to move forward. So it's not like a main character's life is in danger. So I see if you're looking at it purely from sort of like what's going to happen next in the story, that it feels long.
I can agree with that. It's how important.
There's Team Toe.
That was Team Toe in
Yeah.
the circular pod.
Yeah.
All right. He didn't look too out of sorts.
No.
And
that's not canon because it's just from a PlayStation 1 video game.
I mean, yeah. All right. But does that fit into the extended? Hi, Warwick. Does that fit into the extended universe at all?
No.
No? You wouldn't think so?
No.
Even though it is based on a canon, on an actual canon event.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I played that, but there are a lot of hijinks in it that were not, I don't think, matched up with what was going on in the movie.
No.
But yeah, I just think visually it looks cool.
I agree.
Quadraneros is probably the most the alien who doesn't maybe fit the aesthetic of the Star Wars universe the most.
No, he looks like an old Disney character.
He looks like
Humpty Dumpty.
maybe based on Don Knotts, which actually makes me like him more.
Yeah. That Quad Don.
But yeah, I also think like in Lucas's mind with the advancements of CGI that to do a scene like this would be as much of an advance as the technology was when Star Wars came out in '77.
Yeah. I think if it were done.
Laura Singh, that's cool.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. See, this is why rewatching it after watching and reading some of the other stuff.
I think she was originally going to. There was a design for her, and I think she was originally going to be a bigger character. And then they never got her. They put her in there. She was like an exclusive action figure, or like not like a normal 3 3/4, but some other kind of action figure. Mm-hmm. And they never got around to using her until they really put her in Clone Wars.
That's really cool.
Some
Do
fun.
you think the having Anakin as the only live action portion of this race kind of brought people out? Because everything else, there's no other puppet.
People
raised...
love this moment in the theater. The Tusken Raiders.
Yeah.
By the way, taking pot shots just to be jerks.
Mm-hmm.
But so did it take people out of the?
Do you think that helps take people out of the pod race as well? Is because we're looking at all of this wonderful digitalness.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we have a green screen shot of Jake Lloyd.
Oh yeah.
As opposed to that, where that's animated and it all
Yeah.
makes sense to the eye.
It never bothered me. I mean, I think as CGI, this stands up. It's not like sort of like watching early water or liquid metal effects. I think this looks. I think it all looks like it fits. There's not a lot of to me bad CGI.
I totally.
can hear
It's
screams
not
of
the
people
CGI.
And
it's
bye.
it's the not CGI is what
Yes.
I mean.
Yeah.
And that doesn't tie in well with the CGI.
Okay. Yeah. It's never bothered me.
All right.
The only thing I ever really got out of Anakin being the only human is that's a sign that he's really good with the Force. That like everybody else needs like 3 eyes or eyes on the side of their heads.
Yeah.
That oh wow, he's really good with the Force, and also the sort of the barbarism of it of like, oh, this human can do it pretty much,
Yeah.
but he might just run into a part of a cave and blow up.
That sounds right.
That's his problem. Yeah, and I like all these shots of all the ships banging together and the weird jumps.
That definitely helps. This is one of the, despite what people may say about the pod race and the first movie, this is one of the most popular destinations to get in Star Tours.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime we pop up in Tatooine, there's just like, yeah, pod. Like people, I've gotten a couple. This is pod racing, but
No, this is pod racing.
but for the
yeah.
most part, it's just a fun sequence. Do you think we needed all 3 laps though in real time?
I think it could have been. I think it maybe could have been edited tighter. I
Really?
think yeah. I don't know.
Really
I
fun
think-
alien noises.
And I think some bit of tension is given by the other people's reaction to like the horror of like, yeah, that's little kid, and Qui-Gon was like, yeah, no, I'm pretty sure he's really strong with the Force. I'll let him make this incredibly dangerous thing
He can do it.
happen. It'll work. It'll work out for him.
A sweet mag stick, bro.
Yeah.
You got to do those changes on the fly. You never know.
Yeah, and obviously, at the end of the film, sorry if you've never seen Phantom Menace, spoilers,
Why would you do this?
Anakin goes into space and flies. But I also like that we saw something that had some relationship to sort of Luke on Tatooine, saying that he's really good at flying the T-16 Skyhopper. I like that we see him do something different, that he's not just in a ship and can fly around good,
Oh,
but
there he
something like
goes.
truly, truly different.
There goes your boy.
I had to come
Yep.
back for this part.
Yep.
Yep. I thought the Pod Racer toys were the best toys around this time period.
Yeah, they're
As
awesome.
a kid, they were awesome.
Did you have the ones where you had to roll them back and then they would go race around each other, or did you have one of the classic racetrack ones where you would pull the trigger and they would all go around the track?
I had one that you hooked up to this wheel and you turned the wheel a lot and it revved it up like indefinitely and just shot forward.
Oh, that's cool.
And did it make you like the movie more, or did you just like playing with the toys?
It made me want to kill the younglings in 10 years, but you know what? It was enjoyable. You
Well,
know?
that was going to happen anyway.
It made me dislike the movie less.
Fair enough.
I was a kid though, you know.
Yeah.
I was 10 years old when this came out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
no, I was right there with you. So in chat we've got mscat1228. My favorite terrible quote from the movie: "There goes Ben Quadranis' power coupling."
Ben Quadraneros' power coupling.
Quadranaris, yeah. There's a lot of R's in there.
Ben Quadraneros.
Quadranaris. Whew. I think the Phantom Menace is Anakin's little friend who he doesn't say goodbye to. That's
Oh,
from,
Kitster?
Yeah, that's from Leah and Christopher in chat.
I could be wrong about this. I'm pretty sure he does get to say goodbye in the book. Utini, that was great. I love seeing that. Yeah, I mean, for the older, at least in the theater that I was in, the people who were surprised that this was very different than what they expected it to be, people really enjoyed the seeing the sort of the whole culture of Tatooine show up, the Jawas,
Yeah.
and the Tusken Raiders. And again, the Tusken Raiders just being jerks.
Yeah. Let's just take one person out.
And I like putting the smoke in Swalba's face.
Let's just reflect that 16-year-olds can barely drive, and they put this kid in a
7-year-old.
gigantic, massive piece of technology.
Yeah, that's the will of the Force, dude.
Yeah, he built it. He knows what's going on.
Yeah, he's got this on lock. See?
Yeah. Okay, so here I will be critical. I wish that he would have done something a little bit easier to track to be his cool thing that makes him win, because he does some mechanical stuff, which is smart and cool and great, and then can win. But I would have liked to see him execute some like slick, cool move.
Yeah, natural maneuver.
That we can kind of track a little bit
and
more.
also, he's one of the most amazing faces I've ever seen on a child, which
That-
which almost looked like a mask, just a little like.
the dirty grimace.
This is how we fix Pod Racer in the Russian space station.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's almost over. So if anyone that you know and love is watching it with you and they fell asleep in the exciting
Make sure
pod
you wake 'em
race,
back up.
get them up.
Whoop. Always do that on Star Tours.
Yeah,
Anytime we go to the canyon.
I like the detail of the water mirages.
Yeah,
in the
that
CGI.
made that pop so much more as like a realistic effect.
Kitster's also got a grimace.
Be
That
sad, be upset. You're about to poop yourself. Something.
That's an animated GIF that somebody should make of that look that Shmi had when she was watching on her screen and just shaking her head like, ah.
It's got to be a
Yeah.
reaction image
Yeah.
to something.
Qui-Gon still has faith.
He's still like, man, I hope that bet works out for me.
Yeah, I remember when first seeing it, I was like, is this going to be Anakin's first kill that Sebulba's just going to die? But instead, it's just a bummer.
He stops his pod, goes back, helps him up, double taps him in the head, ensuring my victory.
That would be expanding
A little bit.
the Star Wars universe a little bit more.
Like,
The
that'd be
Anakin
Qui-Gon
double
going,
tap to the back of the head.
oh, okay, not taking this kid.
Yeah, and I'm happy for the announcers to be over. They're not my bag.
Now he's got like Bane tan on his face.
Yeah. You were merely born in the. You merely raced the pods. I was born in them, probably.
And the hut being exactly what we were like for the past 15 minutes.
Boo.
Boo! I think Jabba should have stayed awake.
Yeah.
He's making a lot of money on
But
that.
he's just making a public appearance.
I also did think a lot about this when I was watching this. Of like, Jabba should really be paying attention. Does he have any inkling that that kid's daughter is going to murder him?
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was first watching it, that those connections were like powerful in my mind.
Huh. But that could also show his confidence in his power.
There is a very subtle drive-by somewhere in the scene of the probe.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It flies behind them. Especially if I cheat a little.
Yeah. Chance cube my ass.
Yep. And yep, there we go.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Nice subtle little
Run,
drive-by.
run.
Yeah, you fully get the sense that the Hutts totally control the planet, that's just the threat of, like, the Hutts really are serious about their betting. They're, like, actual, like, old-school gangsters in Las Vegas.
You
Like,
like your wings?
would you like me to actually talk to Sam Giancana about this or whatever? So, is Obi-Wan a jerk?
Yes.
That's a really jerky line.
Yeah. I don't think he's a jerk. I think he's very much in a Padawan state of mind of the Yes Master, where it's like, dude, you're supposed to be training me, and you keep getting all of these people. What about
the pathetic light form line? Like that's a really bad way to start off his relationship with Anakin.
Yeah.
He doesn't know, but yeah, I think it maybe is a little bit of a crack of the sort of Jedi pomposity of like the Outer Rim is kind of backwards world.
Yeah. Am I still a person? Is my name still Anakin?
Not a slave anymore.
I'm a real Jedi.
Not yet.
But that's also, Qui-Gon being a rule breaker of like, I'm going to ask the council, but it doesn't matter what they say.
Yeah.
Yes, he's going to become a Jedi. I'm going to teach this little guy no matter what.
The most positive memory of the Phantom Menace was The Saga Begins by Weird Al.
Yeah. I like the way he asks, can I go, as though he is asking if he can go get some candy at the 7-Eleven.
Huh? I think he doesn't. I think he can't. He doesn't understand the breadth of what he's doing.
Exactly. I think it's believable that he's a young kid who doesn't quite know what he's getting him because he says yippee,
yippee,
yippee, I'm leaving my mom behind, and
yippee.
then it starts to dawn on him. There you go.
She ain't no Jedi.
Wada said she's too much used to Shmi.
Yeah, so now this is, again, like the sort of moral questions of Qui-Gon of like, he's decided Anakin is so important that he's willing to bend the rules, move the chance cube to make sure that the Chosen One gets off planet. But he's still clicking to the Jedi don't get involved. They're peacekeepers, not warriors. He's not just going to go cut apart some slave owners and take his mom.
Yeah.
Going to leave her there.
They talked all about it on their one fateful night, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, I think depending on how old you are when you see it, I think it is natural to connect to Anakin. My nephew is a teenager now, but he saw Phantom Menace first and really, really identified with Anakin. We're talking about Obi-Wan as the connection point, but and I think that's honest to a kid of like, your life's kind of crappy, but do you want to go away and become a cool warrior guy with a laser sword?
Yeah,
I do. He's a starship. I like that shot
POV.
from 3PO's perspective. And then, bye, Felicia, to C-3PO.
Later, bro.
It's all
play High Ally if you want.
And I do agree with the observation that with Anakin making C-3PO, it would have been nicer to make an astromech droid instead of a protocol droid, because I don't think Shmi is hosting lots of
what does she
fancy
need for...
state dinners with lots of different etiquette.
All you need to know is one person who's... You need one language. You need two languages. You need English, quote-unquote English, and Huttese.
Yeah.
It's all you need on this planet.
And Bocce to talk to the moisture evaporators.
He could have just built a droid to take her place as the slave. Then he could have taken her with him.
He is strong in the Force, but maybe not strong in slave tactics.
Do you think the audio is too clean? I know this is really random.
Yeah?
But it sounds almost like ADR.
I'm sure a lot of it is ADR.
It's so bizarre.
Do you think it sounds different than other movies? I've never really picked up on any sort of...
It seems like the audio is a little too clear.
Okay.
It doesn't sound like the camera or the boom or anything would be picking it up, just from a production standpoint. It's a sweet backpack.
A space backpack.
Space
Mark.
They got from Space Payless. But the audio, I noticed it at the dinner scene too. Shmi, it sounded like she was dubbed over, by almost on like the Room Tommy Wiseau levels.
Oh yeah, no. Well, I've never picked up on that, and I mean that certainly is her.
Yeah,
it's not.
It's definitely her voice.
Okay,
It's not
this
somebody
is
else.
one of my favorite shots coming up right here. Is when he dips past the cliff, you lose him, and then he comes back.
Whee!
Yeah. And this is one of my favorite toys I had is him on his little Sith speeder thing.
Oh,
Lightsabers.
yeah, it's a red one. Oh, he's a
Yeah.
bad guy. I mean, we knew already, but we got first red lightsaber.
But
Really long hilt for some
now,
reason.
but and again, we spent all this time on Jedi Alliance talking about the whole scope of Star Wars.
Mhm.
Hugely significant that the Sith have been not really around, and then in theory, the Jedi every once in a while maybe fight people who have the electro poles.
Yeah.
Maybe they certainly practice against one another. Maybe people with other weird arcane weapons. But this is the first time a Jedi has fought a Sith
In a really long time.
in a long time, and Qui-Gon just has to be damn.
He's like, dude, I'm getting out of there.
I like how exhausted he is.
I just ran through the desert and had to fight a Sith at the same time.
And come on with the introduction. Of course, Qui-Gon.
You've picked up
Yeah.
a dork.
I really like the bemused looks between them of like, oh, right away he's spunky.
Yeah.
All right.
Meanwhile, at
It's like when your
Hogwarts.
girlfriend meets your side chick.
It's exactly that. I've had that experience a lot in life. It is exactly like that.
Talk about what? So blasé. And he's like, okay, yeah, I'll leave.
Poor C.O. Bibble.
Still can't get over the fact that it's Bibble. That Bibble tea.
Yeah. So about that Sith, the quick Sith fight, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I like that they, it could have been a more elaborate fight. I like that they're saving it up. I'll push my non-existent glasses up again and say, in the book, it is a more elaborate fight.
Mhm.
And if someday if Lucas came out of retirement and wanted to make a special edition of Phantom Menace, I'd take a little bit more work to get. I think in the book, Darth Maul jumps up on the platform. They have to push him off, so he's a little bit more aggressive,
Okay.
and I would take that.
But it definitely seemed like Qui-Gon was 100% on the defense.
Yes.
Just like, okay. If I remember correctly, I got okay.
Absolutely, that he's just trying not to die and get away. Yeah,
trying
there's no like, oh, I'm going to take this guy out or I'm going to capture him. There's just, I'm going to try to stay alive. Okay, so when you were a kid,
Yes, sir. Bring it on.
how much did you understand that this was a 9-year-old and a 14-year-old
I didn't-
meeting for the first time, getting romantic?
Didn't.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that's another thing about the perspective in which you take these movies in. So I was very well aware of, like, they're going to hook up. And that is definitely a weird part of Anakin being a little bit younger. You get the innocence, but then you also get the innocence.
The ongoing innocence.
And it's not like this is like any sort of Mac Daddy scene where they're like flirting
not
with
at
each
all.
other.
This
It's
definitely
a sincere connection.
it starts at like a puppy love sort of a thing where you see in other
Yeah.
forms of media where
Aw.
where a boy likes an older girl or a girl like this is great. He likes me as a person and we're gonna be together forever. So I'm gonna make him a little thing that says we're gonna be together forever.
Yeah, and she likes it. She keeps it.
Yeah.
Right up until she gets married.
This was whereas this is the one where that actually happens,
Yes.
as opposed to other ones where it's like, listen, you're a good kid, but we're like 8 years apart, and that's weird. I don't want to be known as the
Yeah.
local weirdo.
You gotta
And,
hand it to Natalie Portman though.
Oh, she made it work.
Yeah, it was a
Did
good.
well with the lines.
It was a very good scene. And Rick Oley just went on his whole big Captain Exposition where he
Yes, he
explained
did.
Coruscant. He
Chancellor-
said who was
Ch-
waiting there?
Chancellor Valorum.
And Palpatine. Oh, I was so happy to see Senator Palpatine, and actually played by Ian McDiarmid.
That's something that I think people kind of forget, is that he is the thread that connects everything together.
Yes. Yeah, and I think he is a really good actor, and and he plays Palpatine both over the top and weird, and also like an actual villain. And all of his skeevy politician lines are great.
Mm-hmm.
I think the major thing I didn't like about this movie is, as a kid, it was enjoyable to watch, but you don't necessarily understand anything that's going on.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of been the thread that we've been going on. But
Yeah.
now having the framing of the whole trilogy, as well as some of the expanded stuff and the cartoon and just like extended content, it kind of paints a much clearer picture now that now that we're watching it.
Yeah, I love Anakin's confusion here of like right away he gets to Coruscant and Qui-Gon has been like, I got your back, but go there, whatever.
Okay.
So yeah,
Hey,
so
I'm gonna protect you. Get in that car with people you don't know.
yeah. Yeah, but so I think that's a great way to explain a lot of people's super troubled opinions about Phantom Menace. Is it is both for kids in that it has like very straightforward, oh, I stepped in poop kind of jokes. Jar Jar is goofy and fun, but then the plot is about political manipulation and taxation and the loss of your mom and things that are a little bit hard for a kid to track.
A little deeper.
Yeah.
We got that diagonal fade.
I mean, kids can certainly track what the loss of your mom means, but maybe that's not what they want to be thinking about. Like, cool pod races.
It's like, yay,
and
poopy
losing your
feet.
mom.
Oh, she's back.
Orphan's like about 80% of this movie.
Yeah.
They're all about that pod racing.
How big is her travel bag?
That's true. I mean, I think that's half of the cargo of the ship.
That's why they need such a big ship for like 5 people.
Yeah. And I have spent time in different viewings trying to figure out, and I think the way that shot is framed, whether that circle is part of her address, I think it's just part of the window.
It is.
It's part of the. Oh, it's part of the couch.
But they framed that so like, look, it's Jesus, sort of a, it's a heavenly figure.
You got a big old ring around her head.
Yeah. Got a couple people in chat saying even as a kid they thought the age difference was a little weird.
Yeah, understandably. I really love his delivery on that line that just passed of, you could
I mean,
press for a vote of no confidence.
wanted to. He's like, bro, just.
Yeah. And now, as we're getting into sort of the mire of this political things, I think one of the cool things about Chris Taylor's book of How Star Wars Conquered the Universe really reminds you how much Lucas always meant the prequels to have this political element of the government doesn't really work. It's bogged down and manipulated in that. And I think that's cool to see like what he wanted to do play out.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Okay. This was incredibly amazing and awesome to see all of these Jedi. Like, wanted to see more lightsabers, but Ki-Adi-Mundi,
Plo
Plo
Koon.
Koon, and wavy-headed alien in the background, the one with the long neck.
Yeah.
I remember being just fascinated by it. Like, he has to do so much as a Jedi to protect his neck.
Seriously, it's like I know what I'm aiming for. He's like, now there's bad guys with lightsabers. I'm done. I am done.
Yeah. So I think another thing that was a surprising introduction that people didn't expect is we had been told that the Jedi were the protectors of order and that they were good. And instead, Lucas gave us something more complicated, I think, than anybody expected. Of they were good and other people were bad, and instead we got these people with these very rigid rules, who are a little cold. And you're relating to Anakin of like, yeah, I'm a little scared of these guys. They're a little mean.
Yeah. And then there's also the 10th for over 1,000 generations, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have. This is, technically, this is the 1,000th generation, and they have all of that order and rule has come from a whole lot of trial and error. So they at the same time have to uphold something because they have so many tales of what happens when this doesn't work, when that doesn't work.
I believe that is Dominic West from The Wire.
Wow.
Looks kind of like Ellis.
Mark Ellis?
Yeah.
What do you guys think of Yoda in this? After seeing him in Episode 3 when they went all CGI and now the practical in this movie.
They went CGI in 2 so you could do the lightsaber fight with Dooku.
Yeah.
And in more recent versions of Phantom Menace, they replaced him with CGI.
Yeah, they brought him back.
I thought the puppet looked cool. I liked it when I saw it. He looked a little weird, but I liked him.
I think I like the puppet, but now that it all is visually the same,
Yeah.
it creates a better through line for the character, I think.
Yeah, when he's
There's no
when he's all
disassociation
CGI.
anymore.
Yeah. And I love the Senate.
Yeah.
This resonated with me of like, yeah, that is what government's like when you you're trying to give everybody a voice and like, geez, look at all those voices, and it's a
You get lost in it.
It's a great ideal to give everybody a voice, but you need to find a way to actually legitimately make it work if everybody's going to have a voice, or it
Yeah.
is just sort of.
I do kind of wish the camera droid was designated CSPAN. I think that would have been a little bit too on the nose.
Yeah, I think would have had some issues with that.
These
These weird floating discs, but the way they're kind of floating around is cool and alien.
But at the same time, it's like then you've got Valorum just constantly shifting focus, and it's literally like spinning voices in your head.
Yeah.
It like you could float up and just chill right in front, and then as somebody comes up to like filibuster, you just share that space. But the spinning is just come on. Just from a design standpoint.
I like this line. There are ETs in one of these shots. I think that was the one.
I thought
I like the way she says committee. I
Committee.
have no rationale for why I like it, but I do.
'cause it's proper.
Committee.
It's you have to hit every syllable. Oh yes.
Exactly. He looks so happy.
Oh, that's
Wookiees.
but also that senator shows up in Clone Wars, and I totally forget his name.
Yeah.
There's ETs.
Warren Freetop. There are the ETs
Yeah,
down
there.
there, yeah. I think this shot is really well composed, the way he is leaning in as close as he can get, despite her headdress thing.
Yeah, he's trying to like, how close is too close? I mean, this hair doesn't really count, but. How do they just start that conversation?
Well, it's like anything else. Like when you are on a sitcom and people clearly have something to fight about, but they don't do it in the car. They do it when they walk in the door.
Fair.
But yeah, I think this is I really like just aesthetically. I think it's a beautiful shot,
Yeah.
and I like seeing that right away. Obi-Wan is the one who says you should follow the rules.
Mhm.
He is our one Jedi who does things the right way. One of my other favorite lines is coming up from Yoda.
Is it the line?
That one. How feel you? Yeah, no, the famous line is coming up here.
Yeah.
But yeah, see through you can. I mean, like this is they're not being warm or welcoming or friendly like Qui-Gon is.
No.
Trying to like see things from this kid's perspective. They're being just very cold.
Yeah.
Anger, hate, please, suffering, and the ears go down on the
Because
suffering.
it's sad.
Yeah, it is, and it is also exactly what happens.
Yeah.
So, good for you, Yoda. But also, again, whether you agree with whether it's executed or not, it's introducing much more complicated ideas than there's a dark side and the light side. The idea that like normal human motions, unless they're not in check,
In
you know,
check.
yeah. I mean that idea is in the original trilogy, but making it much more explicit that
A little bit more rigid too.
it's certainly more rigid, and you know we learn more about the sort of rigidity of the Jedi Order. But you know you go into it thinking like Yoda's a good guy, and then he introduces some stuff that's like you could have been nicer to that kid.
Yeah.
That probably would have been good.
And
Of course, a
This-
kid is going to have a little bit of fear.
they've and they've expanded. They've kind of softened Yoda up in the Clone Wars.
Yes.
So. Technically, that's true. I'll
He
put an end to
ends-
corruption by nobody having a choice.
You will have no choice left, and it'll be great.
deliver these lines as monotone as possible.
See, that's the thing is when she's not in the paint, when she's not in the makeup, it's like, oh yeah.
Yes. So it might not be a great choice, but I think it's a choice. I think it's clearly a choice that the Queen speaks in this weird, rigid, kind of maybe British way.
But then if you think about it, you can't misconstrue anything she's saying because she's not saying anything. She's not saying anything charged with fear. Like the only thing that we got in her pledge to the Senate was her eyebrows,
Yes.
tilted up in sadness. But if you're just listening, if you're not watching the C-SPAN bot, then you just get a straight up plea. You don't get I'm doing this because I really want it. Like
It's true. There's no whiny.
no.
And it tracks with Leia. Leia's accent shifts around a little bit, especially in Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Samuel Jackson's super like nope attitude.
It's like when you adopt a puppy and bring it home to the parents, and they're like,
We're allergic.
Nope.
Sorry.
This dog is afraid.
It's a violent breed that grows up and kills 30 younglings.
Yes, they sense some some puppy danger, some angry puppy danger in Anakin.
What is this? The Sith rule of two?
But yeah, it is the Jedi version of the Sith rule of two,
Yeah.
right? That it has to be this bond between the Master and the Padawan.
Except without the killing.
Yeah. And I think another thing that was jarring, if you're coming from the classic trilogy, is the way Obi-Wan Kenobi talks about it. It sounds very nomadic, like he was just bopping around and like, hey, I found Anakin and I'll train him. And Yoda's like, no, I should. And Obi-Wan is like, no, I got this.
Yeah. Dude, you just gave me a clearance to be a knight. So come on.
Yeah, so the introduction of this more rigid order that they're sort of not nomadic, I think was also a shift in people's perception of what Star Wars is.
And that's it. That's like, nope. I already said, may the Force be with you. You got to go now.
yeah.
Do you think if they interrupted him saying that, they could have just extended the conversation?
It's the Jedi way of saying,
wait.
I said good day.
Good day.
I said good day.
Oh.
So Phantom Menace starts to introduce the stronger presentation of the certain point of view being a central theme of Star Wars. Yeah.
I do like how they're saying it right in front of him, though.
Qui-Gon's not having it. And now
Whoops.
Qui-Gon's going to say another line here that is the from a certain point of view sort of thematic support. Which to me is another part of the idea of from a certain point of view. Your focus determines reality. You can listen to it as just sort of like bullshitty sort of Zen voodoo stuff.
Zen voodoo.
Zen voodoo. But that idea of like if you choose to see things this way, maybe you'll feel like if you choose to be positive, maybe you'll feel a little bit more positive.
Mm-hmm.
If you choose to be fearful, maybe you'll kill a bunch of younglings.
And what's your take on midichlorians?
I think I understand why people are upset about them. I was super upset about them back in the day.
Yep.
Because again, it went from being sort of nomadic and mystic to like we have a structured order and it's a blood count, and it made it sound like a space disease. I understand why people don't like it that way, but ultimately, it is trying to support Lucas's themes of symbiosis, that like every single living being has some amount of midichlorians that are these symbiotic creatures that live with us and because of us.
Yeah.
And because of them, there's awareness of the Force. So I like that it supports that theme. And also, people get angry and say, it makes it scientific. Like, they're magical creatures that live inside you and speak to a magical, all-knowing Force. It's not super scientific.
I think it's like learning how your favorite magic trick is done.
Yes.
Like, you can still go back and watch the magic trick and appreciate it. You can't help thinking, oh, well, it's because of this. So even though you know what that's from, even though you know it's midichlorians, I don't think that ruins Star Wars.
No.
That just means that that meaning and that concept has while it is a regular thing in this order, they lose that. The Empire has gotten rid of any sort of midichlorian counts or scanners, so as a result, there's none of that anymore.
Yeah.
And now it really has to be just you have to see how much tied into the Force somebody can be.
Yeah.
So I don't think that ruined anything. It's back to that pure form. We don't like this. The midichlorian thing only works for this because the Empire gets rid of it. And now in 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, going and so on and so forth, unless they find a holocron that says, "Oh, here's how you construct a midichlorian counter to see how much of the Force somebody has."
Yeah.
It's not. I don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah, I think it's your focus determines your reality, and midichlorians are canon, and you can think about them or you cannot, and it doesn't change. It doesn't actually change anything, which is both a vote for maybe there wasn't needed to introduce, and a vote for if you don't like it, it's super easy to just ignore.
Yeah.
You don't have to make up any metafiction. It doesn't change the actual functioning of the Force.
Couple fun comments.
Yeah.
As I've gotten older, I've learned to appreciate Palpatine's sinister nature and how subtle the acting was in this movie. That's from MSCAT 1228. And I
agree, MSCAT.
Yeah, that's real good. And then, where was it? Master Balaba was just there. That's Kanan's master.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Did not see. I just.
Yeah. Sometimes when I rewatch Phantom Menace, I freeze frame and take in all the Jedi.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Obi-Wan Kenobi does become a great Jedi Knight. Damn it! So Qui-Gon was on the money there too.
I mean, I figure you'll do a lot during some war, and then you'll hide for 30 years, and then you'll be good. You'll be pretty straight.
So at this point in the movie, when you were a kid, Mark, were you clear what was going on at all, or were you just wanting there to be more fighting?
I knew the planet was in trouble. I didn't. They kept saying war.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured there was something coming. Something was happening.
Something's coming. I like that we get to see Padme Queen being Leia-like of like I don't the Senate's not doing it. I'm just doing this. I'm taking care of this.
And I like the
I'm leading an army. I'm not afraid.
The compressed. It's still an ornate outfit.
Yeah, but it's a little bit more practical. It's practical ornate.
There you go.
It's just interesting that we only have 30 minutes left in the movie, basically. And an hour and 40 minutes most of it spent on Anakin on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, a big chunk of it. Yeah, it is definitely not a traditional movie structure.
No.
So this is actually where the movie kind of starts picking up to where things are interesting, and you're like, oh, okay, I kind of know what's going on now.
Yeah, but I mean, is an individual movie, absolutely. But then, as Lucas being this guy who wants to create this weird, strange world, we've been introduced to all sorts of concepts that pay off down the road. So it's this weird thing of like, it is a big action-adventure movie, and it's for all ages, but I'm just slowly laying the groundwork for concepts.
Just chill out. You'll understand it in time.
Yeah.
I do like the ancient...
ruins?
And the ruins and the forest. The forest was something cool to see in a Star Wars movie again.
Yeah, it looks very Star Warsy. It looks very much like the base on Yavin with the old pyramids and the old sort of these big totem heads that were clearly there at some point and are now shrunken down into the ground.
And you get a hint at what type of a history Naboo had.
Yeah.
Maybe there was a little bit more symbiosis between the two species.
Yeah, and it pays off on Obi-Wan's wise Jedi line of like, you guys depend on each other.
Yeah.
And you never know what's going on with scary Boss Nass, Brian Blessed. I like wondering if some of the noises that Boss Nass makes are like traditional Gungan noises, or if he's just nuts.
Or if there's
like if they just like,
ticks.
Why did you just go unka unka unka?
Yeah.
Like,
I think my weirdest feeling about this movie is that somebody gave me a gift of an action figure from it, and it was Boss Nass, and I'm like, Wait, out of everyone, that's what you give me?
Hey, they don't have everything at Walgreens. You got to take what you get.
He was on the shelf. Did you play with Boss Nass?
I mean, he was always the dick when I played with Boss. He was always like all right,
he was the
get
bad
rid of you
guy.
quick.
Yeah, he should have come with spitting action.
He had
where
like
you
a
could shake his
staff.
head.
He had like this staff, and that was kind of his superpower.
Yeah, he had a staff. It's a great superpower. Yeah, I collected a lot of these action figures. I don't know if I ever had Boss Nass.
I mean, I figure that would kind of be low on the list.
I like the old school land speeders that
Yeah.
also look clean and well taken care of. I always like the word bombad, too. It sounded like you should be really tough and then not.
Do we ever get a clear identification of what the Naboo military hierarchy is?
I don't think they have a military. I think they have like a security group, and that's part of what this is that they don't have an army.
I mean the Gungans.
The Gungans?
No, I know that they have security volunteers.
Not
necessarily an army.
Well, I think it's Captain Tarples, the guy with the sort of the weird little hanging.
Yeah.
So unless Captain's his first name.
Captain, General.
Yeah.
Bombad General.
Yeah. So.
Isn't Bombad just a general term for like awesome?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really glad that they used Bombad and not awesome.
You're gonna be awesome general.
Misa going to make you awesome general.
Oh. Because one of the weirdest but most popular, again, Star Wars video games was Super Bombad Racing.
Was it really called?
It was Super Bombad Racing. It was a bunch of characters from throughout the prequels with giant heads, but it was just like a kart racing game. It was so bizarre, but it was really popular.
Okay, and this is where I'm a grump. I was the first thing that I've accepted in terms of like deformed Star Wars characters is the pop vinyls. It always bugged me. I wanted the characters to be in proportion.
Well, the Star Wars pops were the first really big series for that.
For the pop vinyls?
For the pop vinyls. That was really the first one that made me go, oh, what are these pop things? Do you like the little spider walker for them?
Oh my goodness, I love this spider walker. Yeah.
It's just so, like, they have to make him bob with it.
If I could attach that to my cell phone, I would actually FaceTime. It's like, follow me to the bathroom on FaceTime. Walk with me.
You would figure that there would be some sort of a stabilizer, though. Because then imagine Sidious on the other end, who's watching the picture like go back and forth, and he gets seasick. That's why the pictures have to be so short.
I think this is a beautiful shot. We haven't mentioned as much as we've gone along in terms of George Lucas as a director. I think there are some very beautiful, cool shots, and I think that is one of them.
The transitions are straight out of iMovie, though.
I think iMovie took the
took
transitions from Lucas.
Yeah, the smooth wipe has been a staple.
Let's use the pinwheel here, guys. I really want to use the pinwheel.
Let's get curtains drawn.
I would not be against a version of this where the blue balls the Gungans are about to use are replaced by the spinning Mac Wheel of Death. I'd be down with that.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
I could get into that. This is also new technology
that
was introduced to Star Wars World of whatever. And these guys, the Gungans always seem to me of like they have a little bit of that feel of Ewoks. They're from the planet. They are not necessarily like the traditional sort of warriors. They don't have blasters, but they're clearly more advanced than the Ewoks by a lot.
I will say, in Battlefront, one of the coolest things is to hop up that little bubble shield, and the noises and the.
Can you walk on it?
You can it's people can walk through it, but it doesn't take fire, or it takes fire, but it doesn't go through.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned sound effects. I think like whatever else you think of Phantom Menace, I don't think you can fault the score, and I don't think you can fault Ben Burtt's sound effects. Not only
and we got new stuff. Like I love the sound of Padme's blaster.
Yeah, it's a distinct different sound. The sound of the weird blue balls or spinning Mac Wheels of Death.
Yes,
they're very tactile and weird and cool. And coming up here now, I think is what is most people's favorite scenes in Phantom Menace is the lightsaber battle, which is I think amazing.
But the whole thing just has this otherworldly scope, and it's one of the things in the movie that anybody can look at out of order and go, well, yeah, this is Star Wars. This could be this is distinctly 100% Star Wars.
Yeah, this really does, even if you're just coming at it back in '99 from just the classic trilogy, this is like, wow, this is super Star Wars. Lots of fighting, lots of ships.
I will say the Naboo pilots, I could see a couple of them not going into the Naboo cruisers and a couple of them picking up
Wilhelm scream?
A Nimbus 2000 and going and playing Quidditch just by the way
they are dressed for Quidditch.
Helmets and robes and stuff.
Phantom Menace came first, so they
stole it. Damn,
always feel
J.K.
bad for
Rowling.
this guy. We really spend time on that one pilot biting it.
Seriously. And when you travel to Naboo in Star Tours, I'll never stop talking about it. It's like Star Tours. Come, we'll help you out. We have to get to the planet's surface first. All of the pilots that accompany you get shot down immediately. It's like you go through the atmosphere and then all of a sudden just shut down.
I love these ships, the N1 starfighters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think another thing that's weird about the structure is I think Lucas has his own thing in mind, which includes doing things very different from traditional structure, but also then things that very specifically mirror A New Hope, like a Skywalker in a ship taking out the big threat in the first movie of the trilogy.
And it's kind of got a ball in it, so it's supposed to look like the Death Star. I don't know, maybe. From a thing you see a Skywalker blowing up a giant ball.
It's got, it's a donut. It's a donut ship, and I like that. This is
Sweet
cool.
erector set.
You can definitely see how Halo used the
bubble shield, 100%.
Well, the bubble shield, but the droid tanks, they really based their Wraith on that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And also the individual shields for like the jackals and stuff. Yeah, that's crazy how that works.
And
I wonder.
The graphic of the battle droid standing up.
They were the best Legos because they were like just pieced together so terribly that you knew you could just blow them up really quickly.
And put them right back together.
You could cut them apart. Did you have Boss Nass smash your battle droid?
Oh,
Legos?
Man, yeah.
Yeah, and then the fact that they just walk through though is
but then
tactical problem.
Not necessarily. For somebody for a group that's all close quarters.
That's true. That's true.
You make them come to you.
Yep. And
Do you wish they had bigger balls?
Now, yes, I would have preferred. I don't like Jar Jar's bumbling in this battle, this is a Wicket callback.
Yeah.
I wish that he had been a little bit more like, I'm trying risky things and I'm shocked that they worked.
Yeah.
Like that sort of a little bit of that Han Solo vibe of like, I'm being cocky and it's working out for me.
Yeah. It's the opposite end of that spectrum.
So this where Darth Maul pops up is powerful just because it's cool and that amazing double-bladed lightsaber. But I love how everybody else is like, I love how
fire right now.
No, because they just know he's so pure evil. We can feel it. We're not even force sensitive, and we're like, this is not our problem.
Actually, you know what? Now that you mention it, that brings up the part in Lost Stars where Sienna first meets Vader and the Emperor and just gets that sense. That helps explain that a little bit more. But then he cheaps out and brings the droidicas for backup.
Yeah, but that's just to keep it interesting for them. But I also like Anakin, I think, looks over at Darth Maul at one point in the idea, there it is, the real money shot of the Phantom Menace.
Oh my god, it's two sides! Oh my god!
And them taking the robes off earlier, so great. But I like Anakin seeing a Sith Lord and thinking about this innocent kid seeing something that is so clearly just evil. Just
awesome.
Unnatural. Just awesomely unnatural, right? And thinking that kid's going to become something like that.
I mean, if you saw a guy with one lightsaber and two of them fighting a guy with a double-edged lightsaber and the double-edged lightsaber was doing pretty well, you'd be like, I want to be like that guy.
I'm going to sign up for that team?
There was no toy that I wanted more than that double-edged lightsaber.
Yeah.
A friend of mine had probably the most expensive one, where you could unsheath one end and have a lock on this other end, so that you could freely go back and do the other side.
So I was doing a ton of sketch comedy when this came out, and my friend and I did a very weird Odd Couple Phantom Menace mashup, where we were the odd couple, and then when we got in a fight, we had a huge lightsaber fight with those toys.
That's awesome.
And we whacked those lightsabers. They were well made.
And what was the point of that, do you think?
What?
The quick, get that crap out of my way.
He's open.
He opened the door with it.
He throws some crap into the door and opens it because he wants to fight where all Star Wars fights should happen, somewhere high with no guardrails.
Yeah, giant energy reactor.
But I mean, like, this is so cool. I mean, anything else that happens in the film is worth this lightsaber fight. In these 3 shots.
I'm just so happy with the decision not to make him talk.
Oh, yeah.
At least during the fight.
Yeah.
Well, that's very true. There's no, like, in the interim since 1977, little quips and action battles had become very, very popular. Yeah, and there's no yippee-ki-yay Darth Maul.
It's very much no words, just emotions.
That's a great point.
Shut up. Let the score play.
Well, Qui-Gon, you had half the lightsaber I have. Hey-o.
Looks like you're half the Jedi ever could be.
No crap, Anakin. Come on.
Yeah, I also wish that I think it would have been fine even though he's younger. We already know he's a good pod racer. Rick Oley took plenty of time explaining everything about how starships work to him. I would have liked it if Anakin was a little bit more purposeful in his destruction.
Not just like, whoops, I guess I saved the day.
Yeah. I think especially doubled with the Jar Jar unintentional victories, I would have liked that more.
He just took out a droideka by himself. The Jedi ran from those. But he did it on accident. Hey, he's no Porkins.
So I constantly got this huge space station confused with the Star Trek Voyager when I was younger.
You thought they were
Deep Space
Nine?
Nine?
Deep Space Nine?
Yeah, Deep Space Nine, yeah.
You thought they were blowing up Deep Space Nine?
I'd see like pictures and I'd be like, oh yeah, Anakin blew that. Oh, it's
Now,
Deep
that one had
Space
more
Nine.
of like a crown on either side.
Yeah.
But still, and now I can't help to. Well, how many actual people do you think are on this ship other than droids? How many people of the Trade Federation?
Oh, I think Anakin
actually on this
Anakin
ship?
slaughters 100 Nemodians at least.
Probably.
I would think. I mean, maybe it's battle droids doing everything. Maybe there's
He's
only
the
5.
reason why we don't see Neimoidians in the new trilogy, in the original trilogy.
Because they're afraid.
It's just like anything with Skywalker, we are done.
Yeah.
Jump out this window recklessly.
They've got their
that's right, the little
their
grapples.
grappling hooks. That's standard. If you got a belt, if you got something keeping your pants up in Star Wars, you also have a grappling belt. A grappling hook.
Whee!
One person's a little slower.
Now you really see the potential for Nimbus 9000s.
Seriously.
Yeah. And they do totally look like they should be playing Quidditch.
Yeah.
The only way they're going to end this is if Padme gets the snitch.
Yeah, here you go. Here we
in the Duel of the
Are we
Fates.
gonna do it?
Yeah.
We're gonna do it? Yeah, might as well.
Dancing.
See, now the dancing makes sense.
Yeah.
We dance for the scene. Broke several of his vertebrae just shattered.
He rolled with it. Yeah, and I loved also seeing, you don't see in the original trilogy much punching, and Qui-Gon just straight up punched him.
Yeah. And they're using the that's the one thing that I think I liked out of this fight was they're using the sounds that we're familiar with.
Yeah, but Maul's lightsaber is sharper and nastier sounding, and it just really sounds harsh and deadly.
Slimmer.
Yeah. That jump is so cool.
Yeah. Dude, that's Ray Park for you, though.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. But we've talked about this a lot. This is my absolute favorite scene of the Phantom Menace, and absolutely shows the difference between the Sith and the Jedi. He's pacing in evil, and Qui-Gon's just like, yep, I'm just going to take a knee, and I'm going to close my eyes, and I'm going to meditate, and it'll all be fine. In young, brash Anakin, or Qui-Gon, God damn it.
You did it.
Obi-Wan.
You did it right.
I said them all. Young, brash Obi-Wan is full of energy.
Like, yo, come on, let's do this. Now that the tank blast can come through.
And let all those big blue balls go.
Also, what's happening in the film? Oh, Yusa Bumbla.
Yeah.
Whoa.
There is also, if you track the release order of the films, there's an escalation in how much is going on in the final scene.
Yeah.
So New Hope's just the one scene. Empire Strikes Back, we're cutting back and forth between Leia and Chewie getting out of there, and Luke fighting Vader, and then Return of the Jedi. We got Luke. We got what's going on the planet, or on the moon of Endor. We got the Death Star attack.
Yeah.
And now we got a lot.
We got Gungans. We got
a cross joke.
always time for that. And then we've got the generator, and then Anakin.
Yep. Yeah.
Do you think it should be a little bit more centralized in character-wise? Do you think there should have been more, or we should have taken care of some of this stuff first, so that some of the other ones can actually?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the parts of the film that I think would work better is if Anakin was more purposeful and it was mostly about Anakin blowing up the ship and the lightsaber fight. Because like a lot of things that happens with Jedi, the Jedi battle becomes about the Jedi. The Jedi are not Padme and Anakin and Jar Jar are influencing the outcome of the actual battle. Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon are just fighting a Sith.
Well, I would say even the Gungans are just serving. They're not really serving too much of a purpose.
Well, they're distraction tactics, right?
It's distraction. Keep the armies out of the city so that the smaller team can infiltrate. But to stop the battle, 100%, you keep the Sith busy, and then you destroy the ship that's controlling the droids.
Right. Fair enough. If you weren't keeping the Sith busy, he'd be cutting heads off left and right.
Yeah. So, everybody would be dead.
So So they're keeping the Sith busy, which is good. Obi-Wan's
ready for it. How do they know?
How do they know what?
How did they know that it was about to come off?
I think he's
noise?
reaching out with the Force. I think it is just like when you're calm, you know.
He's a Force dash. It's R2. You hold R2 and you hit X, and then it's a Force dash.
There's a great shot up here where Qui-Gon just looks sort of truly disgusted by just how evil Darth Maul is. There. He looks like, God, you're just awful.
He's like, yeah,
I just really need to take you out. And this is such a cool move.
It took that long for that to happen, though.
What do you mean that long?
Well, you'd figure a guy with two blades against one guy.
Well, Qui-Gon is good.
Which shows how great Qui-Gon is.
Qui-Gon's good. And that was a really good no. The no's of Star Wars have a tortured, twisted history. Some no's are good. I think Ewan McGregor is a great actor throughout the entire prequel, and he delivers a good no. Yeah, and I think one of the other things is that, it's really where the different things that Lucas wants of the film come into sharp focus, where we have this scene where our hero that we really like, a guy who looks like Jesus, was just gored by a guy who looks like Satan, and then we go to means to give up.
Just at the very base level.
Yeah, and it does just make you feel like trying to get attuned to what the movie is like. The movie is what it wants to be, and it wants to play both of those beats.
Yeah.
But good for Padme. This is clearly Luke and Leia's mom at work.
They're all good with blaster fire.
Yep. And they don't take guff. Yeah,
he's pumped. He's gonna kick some ass.
And this fight is so great and athletic. And the behind the back block.
Yeah.
How could anyone have a problem with that?
Like the one of the common complaints in the Red Letter Media review is he talks about why is it so choreographed if they haven't fought a Sith in so long, but that shows how well taught both are.
Yeah.
I can understand the skill and appreciate it.
Yeah, and in canon, there are types of Jedi fighting. There are forms,
there are.
And they know each other's forms, and they match one another's forms.
Mm-hmm. Later.
Yeah, man, that fight is great. That is, yeah, I will never
a
ever
quick
get
burst
tired
of
of watching
emotion.
that. Yeah. Bye-bye, Obi-Wan Kenobi's first lightsaber. So
Somebody
many
will find it.
shafts in Star Wars.
Yeah. So, how much allegory, if you went through in terms of references, do you think? How, if you would count them on a hand, how many direct references to other events?
Oh, in Star Wars?
Yes, just in Episode 1.
In Episode 1? Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody makes fun of George Lucas for saying, "Oh, it's like poetry," and I think sometimes he does.
It's like that rhyme.
Sometimes, maybe he overdoes it, but yeah, I mean, there are the moments where it's a little too on the nose and cute, and then there are other moments where, like, oh yeah, it's just sort of like it makes it feel like it is all part of the same thing.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
Now,
we had to be silent for that one. We had to let that one through.
Yeah.
But surprisingly, no third yippee. We got a woohoo this time.
And yeah.
Yeehees. Very good. We actually do have people who are watching live that aren't watching the film with us. They're just watching us talk about a movie. So thank you to everybody who's joining us do that.
Are they questioning? What are they questioning?
What the hell is going on? Why is there a picture of a logo in the corner? Jar Jar did it.
Yeah, so the conceit of destroying the central ship to get rid of all of the other things. That's the same thing that happens in the Avengers.
Oh, what a jerk. What a jerk.
Yeah, I mean, see, that's how you know he's evil. Just like, I could finish you off, but I'm just going to taunt you.
I'll let you fall.
But, so the Sith, focused on anger. The Jedi, mindful, remembers that there's another option.
Mm-hmm.
That Qui-Gon's lightsaber is still there.
Stab, right there.
Yeah.
Would have just totally held it out, and he would have been cut in twain. Speaking of cut in twain,
and
this is just like, just got more metal. Oh my God. Yeah, he's not coming back.
Yep. Yeah, and Lucas is on record of saying, I wanted to cut him in half so people knew he is gone. Yeah, people criticize that Maul could have done something. Watching it again, it happens pretty fast.
Yeah.
It could happen a tiny bit faster.
It got slowed down for the audience to understand what was about to happen.
And if you watch it carefully in freeze frame, there's a tiny mist of blood.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's gross.
This is, I think, very well acted and awesome.
He is the seventh son of the seventh son.
And from the first time seeing this, I like this, that Anakin and Obi-Wan Kenobi's relationship starts off rocky because Obi-Wan isn't sure about him and is doing this because his master asked him on his deathbed.
Yeah.
Or
so
his
like,
death power generator.
I gotta
and
do it.
Yeah, so you get the sense of like, okay, well, this is going to be difficult for both of them.
Yeah.
You got space arrested.
A little bit more mumbling from Newt Gunray would have been.
They don't have anything to say about that.
No, they're just piecing.
Yeah, and I really like seeing the what's going to become the Imperial Guards.
Yeah.
So when I first saw it, when that line came up, somebody in the theater went, "Oh yeah!"
Then can I be Supreme Chancellor?
That guy in the background is Ben Burt, the sound designer.
That's great.
Yeah, everybody gets a little bit in the movie.
Yeah. Hey, do you want to be in Star Wars? Yeah.
I always like this, that Padawans are supposed to go through the Jedi Knight trials, but they're just like, you killed the Sith? You're good.
Yeah,
you're a Jedi Knight. Imperial theme in the background, a hint of it.
What could that mean?
Yeah. So that kind of connects it back to a little bit of that sort of nomadic angle, like that maybe.
Just maybe.
that maybe Obi-Wan is fighting specifically to be the one who trains him, that Obi-Wan probably wouldn't have accepted it if Yoda was like, okay, but I'll train him. That Obi-Wan probably still would have pushed him like, nope, I told Qui-Gon I would do it.
Mm-hmm.
Another iMovie transition?
iMovie stole it from this!
Nice if Boston has to show up.
Yeah, and it's nice to know that that burning is the traditional, respectful way for a Jedi to pass. So we know that maybe Luke knew that when he burned.
He probably did.
Anakin.
It might
he
have
had
been
some time with some holocrons, possibly in Obi-Wan's hut.
That's possible.
He could. We don't know.
It also could be multicultural. It could be an Ewok thing.
True, but they're
hey,
doing
how do I
reboot.
get rid of a body? You burn it.
Yeah, the only other yeah. It is very clear about the number of Sith.
Mm-hmm.
And then now we have a very clear Darth Sidious is Palpatine thing coming up. But which was destroyed the Master of the Apprentice, and then oh hey, there's good old Palpatine. Yeah, and I think this end scene and all of the shots in the end scene really hook it back to A New Hope of like it's this sort of what Phantom Menace is a dark, weird, fractured version of A New Hope where everybody feels like we won.
We did it. We did it.
A Skywalker blew up a thing.
We're
Oh,
good.
some people died along the way. It was sad, but basically we won and everything's happy. And they don't realize the Phantom Menace that they've all helped Palpatine get more
right
power.
Flipping next to him.
They have introduced. They're dealing with the Sith. They're training young Darth Vader. They're accepting Jar Jar's buffoonery. There's all this darkness they don't quite realize.
No.
And that guy's clearly a badass.
Like,
even Peel.
what
I think
happened
his
to
name is?
him?
He had a hard time in
There's
some
an
Jedi
anthology
mission.
movie I'd like to see. Oh, he's got one of those cool glow balls that you touch and your fingers, like, it sends the electricity to it? That's
I had
great.
one of those. Yeah. They should have made a Phantom Menace version.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised
And
if they did.
Boss Nass yells, peace.
Is this filmed in the same place where they announce the Hunger Games and like bring everyone down the hall?
See, everyone stole from Phantom Menace. That's
Yeah.
how awesome it is.
That's why it's so old hat now.
Yep.
You got
We
Borat.
have
And
the
Freddie
shots of-
Mercury was in the background. It was pretty great. That was
That was a nice iMovie transition to the credits.
Stop it.
You monster!
With that, we would like to thank everybody who was joining us live.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Green Hat 2000, Reno09, MSCAT 1228, Matt Jaworski. A lot of folks came and went throughout this whole stream. For those of you who stayed throughout the entirety of it, we really appreciate it. This is the beginning of something fun that we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing 1 through 6 up until The Force Awakens.
Yes. So please watch Jedi Alliance, obviously, here on the Popcorn Talk Network. We talk movies.
So you can follow us on Twitter. Follow Jedi Alliance, Jedi_Alliance, but you should do that already. On Facebook at Jedi Alliance, we have a lot of questions that you can submit to the show so that we can actually answer them on air. Mondays at 2 p.m. Stay tuned to Twitter. We might be doing a little bit later of a show this next week.
Yep.
But
yeah, and we will. We last week we did a segment called Mind Probe, where we got some questions from you guys and we answered them. So we will probably be doing some more of that. This week's Duel of the Fates that is up right now is who would win in a fight, Admiral Akbar or Grand Moff Tarkin.
Hand-to-hand combat.
Head-to-head combat. Head-to-head, hand-to-hand, foot-to-foot, body-to-body. And there are some very heated opinions about that, so please keep putting your opinions in there.
we have to know what it is, because what your word will be law by the time we announce it this next coming show. But yeah, you got to do it. It's the end of the first one, and of course, Duel of the Fates. If you want to follow us throughout the week, you can follow me on Twitter at SoapboxMark. A whole bunch of stuff, Star Wars and other related. So join the fun.
Yes.
Join the fun.
My Twitter handle is at Joseph Scrimshaw, so you can follow me there as well.
C.O. Bibble. It actually is. I didn't know if it was like C.O.
C.O. Bibble.
It's C.O. Bibble.
It's
S.I.O.
C.O. Bibble. Yep, and Dominic West is indeed
Yeah.
Palace Guard.
I
the
feel like if
star
people
of
are
The
watching
Wire.
the credits at this point, they should hit that thumbs up.
They
Right, guys?
definitely should.
If you're 2 hours and 12 minutes into a watch along, you should hit the thumbs up.
At least for Dominic West from The Wire.
Did you see Jabba
in
the Hutt
Phantom
was
Menace.
played by himself?
Yes.
That was ridiculous. Love it. So that'll do it for this episode 1 watch along here on the Popcorn Talk Network. Stay tuned to our Twitter. We'll announce when we're doing the episode 2-1. But for now, Joseph, I can't wait to do this again with you. This was
Me
a
too.
lot of
This
fun.
was a lot of fun. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. See you next time.
Bye.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, Christian Harloff, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of its owners or principals.